Welcome to Awesome Movie Year, the podcast where we take a look back at an awesome year for movies, which is every year. My name is Josh Bell, film critic and writer, and I'm joined by my co-host.
Jason Harris, filmmaker, comedian, and I just suck both y'all's dicks.
All right. We got some real interesting stuff coming up in this episode because in this season, Jason's already having the best time here.
You know what makes it fun is when I thought that would be the intro, I just knew how much it would delight Dave. And seeing Dave's reaction, it's just wonderful.
Well, Dave's gonna have a good time because in this episode of our season on the films of 2012, we're talking about Dave's pick. So, Dave, what did you pick for us to talk about?
I picked Harmony Korine's Spring Breakers.
Spring Breakers from writer and director Harmony Korine, and the most successful and famous movie, I think we can say, from Harmony Korine, certainly, who is not exactly a mainstream filmmaker, but this was a movie that I would say deliberately made an effort to sort of reach a mainstream audience or a more mainstream audience, even though the content is still pretty abrasive, as in some of his other films. He cast notably Vanessa Hudgens and Selena Gomez, who at the time were primarily known for being Disney Channel stars and doing kind of bubblegummy pop music. And that was a very talked about element of this film. Ashley Benson and his wife, Rachel Korine, are the other main stars of this film, playing 4 college students on spring break in Florida, where they meet. Jason, are you going to do an impression here? I assume Alien, the rapper / drug dealer played by James Franco.
I got guns. I got swords. I got whatever. I don't know.
Man, you set the bar high with that Alan Arkin impression that you did on our Argo episode. And,
I mean, I have to focus a little more on Alien, but I haven't done it. I've been too busy like Alien hanging out with them dope boys.
Yes, yes, indeed. That's what Alien does. So, so this movie was quite a decent sized success for a, sort of small mid-level film. It grossed $31.7 million on its budget of $5 million. And it was an early hit and perhaps a sign of things to come from A24, which was at the time a new distributor. This was the third movie that A24 had released, and the first one really that got widespread acclaim and attention and was kind of a stepping stone for all of the art house dominance that A24 would have in the next decade or so, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't, this was like a nice, modest hit, right? But you wouldn't say like, oh, this is going to launch a media empire that's going to lead to Best Pictures and like the #1 indie studio around, even though, we're getting to the point where maybe they're beyond indie. Like they're doing cool things, working with cool people, and they found their own, kind of way into the Hollywood system. But like they're such a force, like you have to consider them as something more than just an indie studio at this point.
Right.
So.
I mean, at the time though, they were this kind of upstart organization. And this was, Jason, you're right. It was like not a massive hit. It's not everything everywhere all at once, but for a movie at this level, again, it's a quite profitable film and something that garnered a lot of attention and got people presumably to notice what these people were doing.
What I think it might be even more important or as important is that they very early laid out this blueprint to show that they want to work with interesting independent voices and that they'll support them to make, their visions of these projects.
Right. Who at the time that this movie was made thought, let's give Harmony Korine $5 million. I mean, that's a big risk right there.
Not just that, $5 million to make a movie that like has no traditional form, right? It's like a pastiche of like elements, and they kind of it feels like almost like an hour and a half montage, right? And just little snippets, little vignettes. And Harmony Korine himself said he was trying to make a movie that was a mix between a Britney Spears video and a Gaspar Noé film. So if you're wondering why Dave picked it, I mean, that's serving it up on
Yes.
a plate right there.
Indeed. And so, I mean, befitting Harmony Korine's sort of reputation, this movie was and I think still is pretty divisive. Reviews from critics were a lot of them were positive, but not necessarily always effusive. Manola Dargis in the New York Times was a big fan. She said, "Welcome to the party, dude," Mr. Korine seems to be saying, or is he snickering? Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. He proves an excellent ringmaster and a crafty one, too. In Spring Breakers, he bores into a contested, deeply American topic, the pursuit of happiness taken to nihilistic extremes, but turns his exploration into such a gonzo, outrageously funny party that it takes a while to appreciate that this is more of a horror film than a comedy. That Mr. Korine appears to be having it both or many ways may seem like a cop-out, but only if you believe that the role of the artist is to be a didact or a scold. Mr. Korine, on the other hand, embraces the role of court jester, the fool whose transgressive laughter carries corrosive truth. He laughs, you howl.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's a fair assessment if you are on the side of liking it. The idea that like he's building this world and this story, and it's like kind of heightened, but he's having fun. Like you can't, whether you like it or not, you can't say that he's not having fun with this project.
Oh yeah, and I think he's the kind of guy who has fun with all of his projects, even when they're disgusting and dark. That's probably when he has the most fun. So, yeah, I think you're right. To me, the kind of having it both waysness of this movie is a lot of what I find really frustrating. That it's like, if you're gonna make this Girls Gone Wild type video almost, and then say it's like a critique or the idea that like, well, this is all ironic. It's like, well, you're still just showing a bunch of, naked co-eds at spring break. And I feel like your levels of irony are not strong enough to support this necessarily.
I
But
mean,
but certainly he's all in on doing both of those things.
yeah, that is one of the discussions, Josh, that's been around this film. Like, is it misogynistic or is it feminist empowering? Right? Like that's been an argument about it.
Right. And I think it's neither of those things. I don't think he's a misogynist, and I don't think he's necessarily hates women or that the movie hates women, but it's not. I think it's just a bunch of gross exploitation, and not in a targeted way per se, just in a sort of unpleasant way. I don't know. I find this movie, speaking of Gaspar Noé, like despite all of the hot topless women in it, I find this movie very difficult to watch. It definitely took me I had to take a lot of breaks getting through it. But other critics were also positive, more mixed a bit. Robert Abele in the Los Angeles Times said, "Lewd, lush, and mind-emptying, Spring Breakers mixes the commercial lure of its bikini-clad good girls turned bad with Korine's brand of subculture excavation. The movie is an arty lark of ambiguous entertainment value, pulsing with melancholy. It's rarely less than interesting visually or tonally, thanks in large part to Korine's prurient sense of humor and the rich location textures and Crayola sweep provided by gifted cinematographer Benoit Debie. Korine does manage the nifty respiratory trick of breathing in the intoxicating perfume of debauchery while exhaling a self-satisfied soullessness about it all. In the end, it's the strip club leer that hardens into a catatonic stare, which in its way is commentary enough for a pop exploitation riff like Spring Breakers."
Um, yeah, I'm trying to. Debauchery is a good word, obviously, to
Yes.
use here, and I'm just trying to place. Josh, are you saying you were anti debauchery on this, or what? What are you saying?
Well, I'm not. I found the debauchery just sort of repetitive and irritating. I mean, I'm not pro or anti debauchery like philosophically. I think it can be something that's entertaining in a movie. I think it's can be something that you examine in a movie. I think this is a movie that is attempting or purporting to do both. And I don't think it succeeds at any of that. I think it just sort of wallows in nothingness, and after a while it all is just it's repetitive and annoying. And you could argue too, I'm sure that is part of the point, and like Harmony Korine, the idea that people find his work annoying is probably a point of pride to him, but that doesn't mean that I wanted to watch the movie.
Well, I do think there's something to be said for a polarizing personality. At least people are reacting to his films one way or the other, right?
They are.
And I also have to say, like, because I don't, maybe I didn't look any deeper. Maybe that's on me, but like, is there anything deeper to look at in Spring Break? Maybe this is just a pastiche, a heightened pastiche of something that's already a heightened American insane, tradition of sorts.
I mean, I think he is attempting to look deeper. I mean, I think the fact that this is not just it's not just a Girls Gone Wild type thing. It's not just the drinking and the drugs and the nudity and the sex. Like the whole second half of the movie is about the violence. It's about Alien. It's about these college students who start out with that kind of debauchery, then descending into wielding guns and getting involved in armed robbery and things like that. So definitely, I think he's attempting to go beyond that surface level. I don't really think it works, but I think it's trying.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree because like we do see those girls commit a robbery to get the money to go on spring break. Whether it's water pistols or not, they're still scaring people, right?
Right. So I mean that too, then even earlier on, it is trying to sort of get you to question your thought process about college girls and spring break, I suppose.
I did not question any.
No, and I mean I'm with you in that. Like I think it's just empty provocation, and I don't think it really is making any kind of point. And I feel like even a lot of these positive reviews would sort of agree, but they went along with it anyway. So
I'll chime in later during the what we thought.
Okay, you feel free, Dave. I mean, obviously, I know you're a huge fan of this, so if you want to mount your defense there, you don't have to keep quiet.
Yeah.
Look, if you want a philosophical point from me, Josh, then I'm
Yeah.
going to give it to you right now. And
Okay.
the only thing you need to know is big booties and bikinis, y'all. That's what life is all about.
Yeah,
Spring break forever.
you're honing your alien impression there as we go along. So finally, yeah, a little bit more negative, but still mixed. Guy Lodge in Variety said, following 4 college girls' descent from Florida spring break debauchery to the even more vertiginous lows of thug life, this attractively fizzy pick may be a shock to the system for fans of teen queens Selena Gomez and Vanessa Hudgens, but remains pretty toothless titillation by its writer Helmer's standards. If the film is a sellout, however, it's a calculatedly ironic one. From its day-glow opening montage depicting the sights and sounds of a typical spring break, Korine is plainly aping the aesthetic of such vapid MTV exploitation shows as Jersey Shore. Less clear is whether he's effectively satirizing them or merely complicit in the glossy meretriciousness of the culture they represent.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that if we're going to be talking about that on a just kind of on a visual level, like that was a calculated choice and a really good one. Like MTV Beach House, Girls Gone Wild, all this stuff that you're talking about, anything spring break, right? Is you consider with a look, Jersey Shore, I guess, right? So he captured an aesthetic that you at the time really weren't seeing all this much on film. Like it was kind of this mix of like found footage party stuff, but without the found footage-ishness of it. So I thought, the look it helped make it unique. And I think he continues that into the Beach Bum.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the visuals here, and as mentioned, that cinematographer Benoit Deby is responsible for a lot of that, are striking. And to me, the thing about this movie is that it's so impressionistic that I feel like if it had been a music video, if Alien had been a real rapper and this had been his music video, I probably would have been like, that was pretty cool for 3 minutes. But
Yeah.
trying to string it together for 90 minutes and put this half-ass story on it, it's just, I keep saying I'm going to be repetitive, but I keep saying how repetitive I feel like this movie is and monotonous.
I want to say, I had no clue how famous Selena Gomez was back then. I mean,
Yeah.
I get it now, and I'm a big fan of her since Only Murders in the Building, but I really just knew her, I guess, Wizards of Waverly Place or something, and like pop star, but I didn't realize already at this point, like she was a huge star for beyond just that kind of Disney Channel style stuff.
Right. Well, she and Vanessa Hudgens, this was the height of the whole High School Musical era for Vanessa Hudgens, and they were both big stars. But I think part of the thing is that maybe you weren't as aware of it because you weren't part of the demographic that they were such huge stars in. Neither of us would have been. And so making this kind of a movie with people who were hugely famous among that kind of an audience, basically sort of teen and really more like tween girls maybe, was part of the provocation that Harmony Korine is attempting here.
And it worked. And the Ashley Benson character was originally going to be Emma Roberts, but I guess she didn't feel comfortable with the sexuality of the part. But I think, which, look, everyone makes their own choices. And so the other people they were considering were like Demi Lovato, Elle Fanning, and Sarah Hyland, who were kind of in that same type of, obviously they match the age range, but that same type of visibility, for that audience. I think Sarah Hyland would have been an interesting choice to play that character.
Yeah, I know you're a big Modern Family fan, and so you're probably more familiar with her as an actor. Demi Lovato certainly was within that same like Disney orbit or whatever as Vanessa Hudgens and Selena Gomez. They all kind of came up with their at the same time with their various Disney projects. So clearly that was something he was aiming at, really wanting to I don't know, exploit that connection or whatever. And I mean, not that we should discount the agency of these actors. I mean, just as Emma Roberts turned it down, like the people who are in it obviously said yes to it and wanted to do it. And I would imagine that it's a mutually beneficial situation where he gets these big Disney stars to boost his weird art movie, and they get a chance to branch out and do something different and show that they can do something more mature than their Disney work. And I'm sure that helped them as well.
I think Vanessa Hudgens said, like, after, she had a sex scene in there and it was so traumatizing for her, or how difficult to do, that she asked her agent, like, she told her no more sex scenes ever again. And it's got to be so hard. Like, this is not just like sex scenes. These are like really, pushing the limit of comfortability for the characters. So as an actor, it's pretty brave to take that on.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess maybe this wasn't an entirely positive experience for her then, but certainly I think the decision to be in the movie in the first place is motivated at least in part by hoping that it'll showcase them in a different way. So, did you watch this when it came out, Jason?
I missed it when it came out, and I
Oh.
watched it on an airplane, which is a completely not good decision, Josh, to watch
Yeah.
this while you're on it. Every time a titty pops out, you got to look around and like, oh, I'm holding the screen towards myself or whatever. So, but I mean, there were, movies that you just, that's what a lot of plane rides are for, right? Like to get to the destination, Josh.
That's the main purpose, really.
But
Sure.
two, it's a good time to catch up on movies, right?
Sure. Totally. So was that like recently or just like a couple years after?
No, I think it was like 2 or 3 years after it came out, or maybe even
Yeah.
a year. But yeah, so that was my first experience with it, and then uh, didn't watch it again until this rewatch. But on record as saying I was a huge fan of The Beach Bum the first time I watched it. What I find interesting about both of them is, like, I don't think that these like I don't get the same enjoyment on the rewatches as I did on the first viewings.
Yeah. Were you familiar with Harmony Korine's work before this?
Familiar, yes, but hadn't honestly hadn't. I mean, I knew who he was. I knew he wrote Kids. I knew about his other movies and his little foray into, yes, Dogma 95 coming back today,
Yes, indeed.
all season long. But no, the Spring Breakers is the first movie I saw of his.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I that was also for me the first movie that he directed that I had seen. I had seen Kids, which he wrote, and was sort of a big breakthrough for him, as well as, I mean, a lot of people involved in that movie. But that was directed by Larry Clark, and I liked that at the time that I saw it. But I'm pretty sure I saw it when it came out in like 1995, and haven't seen it since then. So I don't know how I'd feel about it now. But Spring Breakers was the first movie of his that he directed that I saw, and I did see it. I saw it at a press screening. I reviewed it not favorably at the time, and my opinion has remained pretty consistent on it. So, Dave, what was your first experience with Spring Breakers?
Yeah, I saw it in a theater. I thought it looked insane. I was not very familiar with Harmony Korine's work. I also had seen Kids, of course, and I also saw Gummo, like back in high school. It was one of those weird movies everybody talks about, and then ended up seeing. But that was the only other one, and so I mean that was a long time before that.
Who'd you
But
see
I
it
just
with?
thought this. I don't remember. I was just at someone's house, and it just seemed like, is this just like a VHS tape that you made? Like I I have no idea what the hell we're watching, but it sure was weird. But yeah, I hadn't seen anything else since then.
And I mean, is this a movie that you loved right away or that kind of grew on you over time?
It definitely grew on me over time. Like I definitely liked it right away. I think I liked it, a lot more than you did, Josh, and maybe around the same as Jason. But I actually liked it more this time around. So this actually grew on me.
All right. Well, that is something that I don't know. I was trying to make some sort of joke around that and it didn't work. So let's move on.
Dave, you're a weirdo.
Jason, any other background info on this film you want to talk about?
This is one of those movies that's fun to research where like every new fact you find is like, that sounds insane and that's perfect, right? So like there's a bunch of them. I think, Harmony Korine saying like he wrote and made this movie to make up for all the spring breaks that he missed because he was like part of skate culture and never was always so into skateboarding. He never did spring break was interesting.
Is this the kind of spring break that he wished he had gone on? That's a disturbing.
Probably.
Well, I mean, this is what spring break is, right?
Well, yes, but also I feel like most people who go on spring break are not murdering rival gangsters. Usually.
No, I mean, Josh, I think they're talking about going down to like, Panama City or San Padre,
San Pedro, isn't it? Island?
No. Yeah. No, San Pedro's in California.
Texas. No.
San Padre is in...
There you go. In Texas, right?
Yeah, right. And you just go and party, you get drunk and foam party and blah, blah, blah. I think that, and then, the whole crime element is his heightening of that. I don't think he was saying like, man, I really wish I was, doing hard crimes back then.
I wouldn't put any of that past him, really.
My favorite backup fact, Josh, is that Riff Raff, the rapper, you remember Riff Raff, right, Josh?
No, I remember. Wasn't there a Riff Raff in
Heathcliff?
Yeah, is that what it is? I was
Riff
thinking
Raff.
some
That was
kind of cartoon character.
That was the.
I'm sure he's named after him.
That was the B story in Heathcliff, Riff Raff and the Junkyard Gang.
Oh,
and this is why you want me on your trivia teams because of stuff like that, Josh.
Yeah.
But Riff Raff, the rapper, it tried to sue the filmmakers because they said they sampled his life to make this movie.
The idea being that James Franco's character was like a ripoff of his persona.
Right. And Franco says it's not. It's of the rapper Danger Russ,
who makes a cameo in this film. I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
As do the ATL twins, who they say that story that's in the movie is all true about them. Like that they share girlfriends and they're always dating the same woman.
Right. And they're sort of introduced as like aliens sidekicks, although then they don't really do anything. I don't even know if they had a line, either of them, in this film.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, no, whatever. All right. Well, we will come back then in a moment and talk more of our general thoughts on Spring Breakers. Welcome back to Awesome Movie Year. In this episode of our season on the films of 2012, we are talking about our producer David Rosen's pick, Spring Breakers. And Dave, you've been pretty quiet here so far, so you want to tell us what do you love about this film?
Sure. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily, about spring break itself. I think this is just strictly about American culture and just how gross and awful it is. And yeah, is he showing that on screen to make fun of it and kind of pick it apart? Yeah, of course, but it's not just about showing all the tits and the sex and the drugs and all that stuff. Like it's about what people want out of their lives right now. And I think things have only gotten worse since this movie came out. So that's why it works like so much better for me.
And any social commentary from any era that we talk about on here,
yeah,
pretty much.
Make America great again.
The world's going to shit, and Harmony Korine likes to film that kind of stuff. If you watch all of his other movies.
No, I mean, one thing you would think is like if this was today, right, and the same characters were going on spring break, they would be all over, every social media platform, like just documenting it themselves, right?
Sure. Yeah. And everyone would tune in.
The movie that I kept thinking of that's like a successor to this, I feel like, is Zola, which is also set in this kind of same area and is obviously completely social media focused. So yeah, you're totally right, Jason.
Zola, I think, is a good thematic one. I also thought that, and another A24 filmmaker, there were maybe not on screen, but like the kind of way it's shot and certain feels of realism. Sean Baker came to mind a lot in this.
I feel like Sean Baker is so much more of a humanist, though, because the thing about Sean Baker movies is that maybe they're about like dirtbags, but you get this sense that
Empathy.
He's really, yeah, exactly. He's trying to understand these people, even if he's not maybe like trying to excuse their behavior. He's definitely interested in who they are and what makes them tick. And Harmony Korine in this film barely even has characters. Like Vanessa Hudgens and Rachel Korine and Ashley Benson, their characters like are just blobs. Like they don't have personalities. They don't have a distinct like distinctions between any of them. We don't know anything about their background or their motivations or whatever. And so I feel like this is a movie that is not at all interested in its characters as people.
I mean, I was talking about Sean Baker with the way he puts things together visually and kind of maybe picks like those ATL twins, like people who aren't actors, to like kind of really add color to the film. But Josh, like I get what you're saying, but also like again, we're getting a glimpse of like, I think like is there anything wrong with an Andrew WK song? No. So like maybe this is all that this was supposed to be, was one big giant party anthem.
I mean, I don't think so. I think Andrew WK, and I know you're more of a fan of his than I am, but I mean, the thing about him is that he's like all about genuine positivity, right? His songs are all about partying and having a good time. And that's what he's all about. He's like, let's have fun. Let's be together. And this movie is not that at all. Even all of the like voiceover that the characters have about, oh, we found such unity here and we met these people who will be our friends forever. And it was so beautiful. Like those are all meant to be ironic. Those are all played over scenes of horrific stuff. And they didn't make any friends. They didn't change. Like if they changed, it was only for the worse.
Well, again, yes, you're right. But, or is it them like being like, oh, we really effed up. We're in trouble. Now we have to hide this from our parents, because people at that age do that stuff. So maybe they're like, yeah, I'm having a great time and really, learning about myself. I don't know. I'm just trying to give you another point of view.
I think the Andrew WK comparison is much better for the Beach Bum, because I feel like this is the negative side of what Harmony Korine is trying to explore. And the Beach Bum is the pure 100% positivity side of the same basic idea.
Which also has its sad moments, though.
Yeah, I remember, I mean, not to get away from this movie, but I remember watching The Beach Bum, having sort of heard about it from that perspective, Dave, that you're describing, and thinking, this movie is horrific. It's dark and fucked up and not fun at all.
But look how happy he is. Look how happy Moondog is.
It's so funny the way we're watching it differently, because, yeah, exactly. I'm watching it through Moondog's, eyes, I guess, and he's just chilling no matter what the situation is. So
exactly.
But we're talking about spring breakers, Josh, and yes, you make fair points. I mean, look, Project X, maybe that's something that kind of follows this kind of model here too. But like, this shows like that elevation of consequences when you get deep into that crime game.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that movie is awful, and did they commit crimes in that movie? I haven't seen that.
I'm just talking about the party. The party is the thing that can't stop, Josh.
Right. That is true. Yes. And this escalates to a point. But I mean, I guess also one other thing that frustrated me in this film, and I didn't remember this aspect of it, is that, we start out where basically Selena Gomez's character, she's sort of the reluctant one, right? She is, while her friends are busy robbing the chicken shack to get money for their trip, she's at like Bible study. And I mean, it's all played cartoonishly, but the idea that she sort of has these moral reservations more so than the others do. And that contrast where the character acts that way or feels that way or wants to project that image of herself, and then they go to spring break and she is fully into all the debauchery, at least up to a point. And then when they get arrested for drugs at one of these crazy parties, and Alien shows up to bail them out of jail, and he kind of takes them under his wing, and they go from the fun candy colored debauchery to his real like dark world. And she starts having serious doubts. And there's a great scene where he's sort of like pseudo threatening her when she says she wants to leave. And, you know, in a very like textbook, like sexual predator kind of stuff. And I thought, well, here's some actual like dramatic tension in this movie, right? Here is a character who is struggling with her conflicting desires and this guy who is menacing her. And then instead of exploring that, she's just like, no, I'm going to leave. And then they're like, okay, bye. And she never comes back.
Well, I guess the exploration is with the ones who stay and, you know, what happens to them. Although really they make out just fine too. They do a lot of murders and they get away in a fancy car and there's really no problems for them after that.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. There isn't exploration. And also because those characters have no layers to them, have no depth to them. There's no complexity. Whereas Selena Gomez's character does have something going on where I can like sort of grab onto this as a person who I can find some interest in, and then they get rid of her.
Dave, defend the movie.
You know, that's the thing. I don't think I can defend the movie because as we've discussed with a lot of Harmony Korine stuff, like you're going to get out of it what you see in it, you know, and it's definitely that kind of a film. And I think that there's a lot more going on here, like what I've already discussed. And I think that, you know, as we see those girls start to get more and more into Alien's life, you know, this thing definitely gets more and more, you know, metaphorical and dreamlike, and like it's definitely not to be taken straight up literally what's happening. I don't think half of this stuff. I mean, they're just in a drug-fueled haze at that point, going through all kinds of weird shit. And so, you know, it's just kind of a strange and open to interpretation way to structure a film.
Let me bring up a few things, Josh. One, some nice performance work from, you know, as Big Arch, Gucci Mane, and pro wrestling legend Jeff Jarrett as the preacher at the church. But that was originally going to be Val Kilmer, and then and then Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan had to pull out. What you gonna do, brother? And then it became Jeff Jarrett. But I thought, like, you know, little bits like that were nice. We have to talk about the score, which was awesome. The score is great.
Annoying.
Yeah, Josh, I know you're not a Skrillex guy, but I thought Robert Martinez and Skrillex captured
Cliff Martinez.
Yeah, who's Robert Martinez?
I don't know.
I think that's my buddy Stoner Rob, who would fit perfectly in this movie, right? So, but Cliff Martinez and Skrillex did a good job of capturing that vibe of spring break.
Yeah, I kind of honestly wondered, like, there's certain, I assume the Skrillex side of things, these like dubstep breakdowns or whatever, that I just like are, to me, the most like abrasive sounds in music. And I wondered, I'm like, am I supposed to be annoyed by this? Because I feel like that's something that Harmony Korine, again, would take pride in, but maybe it was just me.
We're very old.
One of my favorite tweets ever from Conan O'Brien was, thought I listened to the new Skrillex album. Turns out it was just a garbage truck crushing my garbage cans.
Yeah, or I think about like that Key and Peele sketch where they listen to dubstep. I don't know if it's Skrillex or what it is, but like they're all like calm, and as soon as they put on the dubstep music, they start like breaking stuff and going crazy and whatever. So I don't know that. Yeah.
I was trying to think if I covered Skrillex at one point in my music writing life, because I did Chromeo and I remember that, but like I feel like I've covered Skrillex, but maybe it's just that haircut became so popular that I did.
So like you saw him perform live?
It's two of them, right? Isn't Skrillex?
No, it's
two
just
of them?
a dude. It's just
one dude.
Oh, there. I don't know anything. Let's just move on. Hey, Josh, James Franco won Best Supporting Actor from the Los Angeles Film Critics Association, and tied with Jared Leto, who won the Dallas Buyers Club the Oscar for that year.
I feel like Jared Leto is like Alien in real life, probably.
He also won it for National Society of Film Critics and the San Francisco Film Critics Circle. So what do you want to say about that?
I mean, it's a performance, certainly. I feel like, again, it's deliberately abrasive and it succeeded. I found it incredibly irritating and I wanted him to go away.
You wanted subtler beats on the Florida white rapper alien.
No, I mean, again, I don't think I want this movie to be subtler. I don't think Harmony Korine has the ability to be subtler. You know, that kind of attempt from him would be even more of a failure. I just think his whole deal is not for me.
Listen,
Which is fair, which is very fair.
I guess what we've all agreed is that Sean Baker should remake this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I am definitely more on that wavelength in terms of Sean Baker. So I just want to go back quickly, Dave, to something that you said about the idea of the later parts of this movie not meant to be taken literally, as if there's some sort of surreal dream or something. I mean, do you feel like we're meant to think that this is all just an imaginary scenario for these women?
Possibly, yeah. It's one of those open-ended things, of course. Like, I really don't know for sure, but I mean, I don't think they really survived a gang encounter and killed both rappers and like got away scot-free from spring break. Like that's too insane.
I took it literally.
I mean, I did wonder that. I feel like if you don't, it's better, because during that scene, and this is, at the very end there, where they sort of invade the compound of Alien's best friend / rival, and they kill all these gangsters. I was like, man, these gangsters have terrible aim. They're all missing. Like, these girls are completely unscathed, while Alien gets shot in the head almost immediately and
from
dies.
From a long distance.
Right.
Shot. That was kind of funny,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I it's interesting how different we're all taking it, Josh.
Yeah.
So I guess we see why it racked up 31 million in box office, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a movie that, I mean, I'm sure part of that box office was people who were fans of Vanessa Hudgens and Selena Gomez, who didn't realize kind of what they were getting into, and or possibly people who were titillated or enticed by the idea that these wholesome Disney stars would be in their underwear in this film or whatever. But presumably in there somewhere are people who had a genuine interest in Harmony Korine's work.
Josh, you're the expert. Every Time by Britney Spears, where does it rank on her list of songs?
I mean, I feel like in general, Britney is better at the upbeat stuff than she is at the ballads, because she all respect to Britney Spears, but she's not like the world's greatest singer. So I feel like where if something is less adorned and more trying to showcase her voice is not quite as appealing. It's a good song though, and it works here. If it had been a Britney Spears music video, I would have liked it more.
You know who should go on spring break? Britney Spears Instagram page.
Yeah, I know Britney is she's free now and she's enjoying her freedom.
Is she? Is she, Josh?
She is.
Are you a little worried when some of those Instagram posts go up? Like, do we need some?
It's none of my business, and plenty of celebrities do plenty of questionable things and don't have courts intervene on them.
I understand that. I'm just saying, maybe I hope that look, anyone who needs any mental health help. Sometimes I look at those Instagram posts and I think, like, I hope she's getting help that she needs.
I hope so too. I hope she is getting the full support and is not on a sort of debaucherous.
Do you think Britney likes this movie?
I wonder if Britney likes this movie. I'm not sure if she ever. I mean, presumably she had to. Actually, probably she did not have to sign off on the use of her music in this film, because I'm sure she had no control over it. But
that montage is insane though, because it's just them like dancing around a piano, holding guns, and then they're just like doing robberies, and it's like, man, this escalated very quickly here. So
yeah.
Yes, but I feel like this escalated very quickly is like the core theme of this film.
Yeah.
Should we rate it?
Yeah, you want to rate it out of 5 gun / dildos, maybe?
All right, I was gonna go with naked people, but either way,
sure, that too.
All right, I give it 3. It's 3. Enjoy all the nudity there. Enjoy the 3 nudities out of 5. I give it. So.
All right, I give it a 2. I can't say that I really enjoyed much of anything here, but I guess I will respect Harmony Korine from a distance.
You're like he put together enough footage to make a feature length film.
No,
so I will give it its 2 stars.
I mean, no, beyond that, he's trying something. It is not for me, but I always appreciate a movie that at least is taking big swings and trying to make an artistic statement versus something that's just boring. So I'll give it credit for that.
It was funny when I went to rewatch this. I was thinking to myself, "Poor Josh."
Well, that's we've had the opposite here, certainly, where I've picked movies that did not appeal to one or both of you. So that's
I
okay.
personally delight in Josh's misery while watching movies. When he tells me of like upcoming screenings of bad things he has to see, I'm like, that just makes me really happy.
Wonderful. Dave, what rating are you giving this film?
4.5.
Whoa!
Oh my God.
I love this movie. I was 4 last time, and I'm up on it now. It's great.
See, Josh,
Wow.
turns out Dave's just sucked y'all's dicks.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, we'll come back and talk about the legacy of Spring Breakers. Welcome back to Awesome Movie Year. In this episode of our season on the films of 2012, we are talking about our producer David Rosen's pick, Spring Breakers. And in terms of the legacy, we've already talked a bit about A24. I think that's a big part of this, that this is early A24. It was the third film they released. The first 2 films that they put out didn't make much of a splash. And
What were they?
It was the A Glimpse Inside the Mind of Charles Swan III is the first movie that they released.
What is that?
Directed by Roman Coppola, which I haven't seen. Is supposed to be horrible. There was a preview for it on the DVD of this that I watched. And the second film they released, which just came out a week before Spring Breakers, was Ginger and Rosa, which I don't think I've seen that either, but that was, I think, a fairly respectable kind of coming of age drama with Elle Fanning. But neither of those movies made like an impression the way that this movie did. And I feel like there's a lot, we talked about the look of this film. I feel like the look of this film really is influential on a lot of A24 and similar indie space kind of releases.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's what I was talking about with the Sean Baker thing, I think. Not that this had a direct influence, but it was in the headspace of the whole thing. Do you have a favorite spring break party movie, Josh?
Oh man, I don't know. I didn't think about that, but maybe. Nothing's coming to mind. Do you have one picked out, I assume?
No, I was just asking you.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe this was a topic that you had prepared, and that's
Van Wilder's fun.
I haven't seen that. I feel like this is these are the kind of movies that I probably won't typically care for.
Didn't we almost cover From Justin to Kelly in the 2003 season?
Thank goodness we didn't.
Yeah, as a flop. But I haven't seen that. I was kind of curious about that because I do love Kelly Clarkson.
How about the Reno 911 movie? That's good, right?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that is fun. Yeah, I don't know. Revenge of the Nerds 2. I liked that at the time, but I'm sure
there you go.
Up.
Yeah, Nerds
in Paradise. Yeah, exactly.
I loved that movie back in when I was a teenager.
It feels like everything in like the 80s, like every third teen sex comedy was a spring break movie.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right, and this Revenge of the Nerds is the only one that's coming to mind, but I'm sure there's other big ones that we're forgetting about. I mean, I remember seeing The Real Cancun, the reality movie that was like
I thought about that a lot during this one.
Yeah, and that has had a weird like cult reassessment, I feel like in years since, but I am not sure I would be on board.
A while, I think one time back in the day I pitched a movie where it was like, a son or a daughter goes on spring break and it turns out like her mom is also partying down there and everything, which I think we've seen like multiple iterations of now. Have you ever seen Spring Breakdown with Amy Poehler, Parker Posey, and Rachel Drop?
I don't think so, but isn't that's like middle-aged ladies go on spring break?
Yeah, it's like a lost film. I'd love to see that at some point in time.
Yeah, there was that Melissa McCarthy movie, Life of the Party, where it's not on spring break, but it's a similar thing. Like she's the mom and she decides to like party at college with her daughter or whatever.
Yeah. So Selena Gomez is the most famous person on the planet, right?
I mean, she's famous. I don't know about that, but she certainly is still famous. Yes.
She's the most followed person on social media in the world, I think.
Okay, that could
true?
be. Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, she's done well. I mean, I think it's interesting to look at, because at the time this movie came out, she and Vanessa Hudgens were sort of equal in terms of their stardom for that Disney demographic. And Selena Gomez has only just, as Jason, you're just describing, has only become huger. Her career as a pop singer is still very successful. And she's reached a whole different audience with being on Only Murders in the Building with Steve Martin and Martin Short.
Which she's fabulous on.
She is. She totally is. And I feel like there's a lot of people who probably enjoy that show who would not have ever seen or heard anything from Selena Gomez. And so she's really reached that new audience while retaining her old audience. I mean, she continues to put out music and have her fan base there as well. So yeah, she's been very successful.
Of her upcoming projects, Josh, the one that seems like it would fit this episode the best is a film called Spiral, which follows a former influencer whose addiction to social media is causing her body to literally fall apart.
That sounds weird and interesting. Yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah. And her friendship with Taylor Swift.
Yeah, right. That is, yeah, right. All of this extra textual stuff it was a huge deal at the time of the movie coming out, and is still, a lot of what people talk about, her relationship with Justin Bieber and all this kind of stuff.
Right. She had a lot of famous boyfriends, right?
She did. I mean, that was the most famous one. But, Vanessa Hudgens after this has had a maybe rockier career, although she's found a lot of success in the Netflix Christmas space.
That's gonna be her groove, man. She's killing it there.
Yes, the Princess Switch movies and the Night Before Christmas.
KNIGHT.
Exactly. Jason, have you seen any of those? I know you were writing your own Christmas movie.
No, but I look forward to the day where our Christmas talents convene together. Vanessa, holler at your boy.
Yes, indeed. Ashley Benson, who was not as big a deal, I think, when this came out, but was on, I think it was Pretty Little Liars, which was a definitely more adult-ish or darker kind of thing than those Disney shows. But she hasn't had as big a career. She does some small movies and TV guest starring roles and things like that, and is working, but nothing major really following this, I don't think.
She can rest on her 14 Choice Awards and her Young Hollywood Award. But Josh, she's in a movie coming up called Pledge Trip. In pursuit to belong, 3 college freshmen take off down a twisted, debauched, pride-busting road to brotherhood. It sounds perfect for a former spring breaker.
That is true. Yeah, I assume she's not playing a college student anymore, maybe.
No, but I would hope not. So Rachel Karine's just stopped acting. She's married to Harmony Korine, and now she's just the last thing she was on was like The Knick back in the day.
Yeah, 2015. I mean, she had a couple movie roles after this, and then that recurring part. And I assume they have 2 kids together, and that she's, chilling at home with the kids, which is totally, that's cool.
Your boy Gucci Mane.
This was the only movie he ever acted in.
Well, he's a mogul, man. He's got other things to do. When you invent trap music, Josh, you got other stuff you got to get going to.
Is that his thing? I admit to knowing like nothing about him.
He's one of the inventors of trap music.
Yeah. All right. I just thought it was funny that, because I mean, a lot of rappers have these side careers as actors, and some of them are better than others. And I just kind of figured like that was him as well. But no, Harmony Korine's Spring Breakers was the only thing that he was like, yes, I will play a part in this film.
This was the one that spoke to him. Josh, we've talked about The Beach Bum, which Dave and I both like. I don't see any upcoming projects for Harmony on the IMDb's.
Yeah, I don't know if he's got another movie in the works. I mean, The Beach Bum, I'm not sure how it did financially. It definitely got a lot of attention critically. Along the same lines, although I feel like it was less divisive than Spring Breakers. Like it was a lot more highly acclaimed.
Yeah, because Spring Breakers like introduced the new audience to this style of his, and then they could get down with McConaughey and Jonah Hill and just going, and Isla Fisher just going all in on this stuff.
Yeah. So I'm sure he's got something else coming up. I mean, he does a lot of work in music videos, including with Gucci Mane, and directed. It's funny that he's made these movies, or at least this movie in particular, that's so like critical of commercial culture, and he directs a lot of literal commercials. I didn't watch any other Harmony Korine movies, but I did devote 30 seconds to watching his most recent 7-Eleven commercial that Wikipedia claimed was viral, although I don't know that is really the case. It's got with this hip hop group called Marlowe, And I mean, it was whatever. It was a 7-Eleven commercial. I can't think of any reason why it would have gone viral, but I did watch it.
Marlowe coming.
Yeah. Um, Dave, I feel like we have to mention, even though this is earlier than this, but I know you watched Trash Humpers, and I feel like we
Yeah.
have to discuss that at least briefly.
Oh, it's so weird. I mean, yeah, it's like if you thought that like Spring Breakers was, a bit unfocused or just kind of all over the place, you're not going to make it 30 minutes into Trash Humpers. It's very strange. It has that vibe of like, skater kids just making a weird movie, but it gets so out there, and I had a blast with it. I mean, I don't like it as much as Spring Breakers or The Beach Bum, which, by the way, I like The Beach Bum even more than Spring Breakers. But
I agree with that.
Yeah, it's pretty great though, and I'm gonna catch up on the other ones that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, he's got an eclectic filmography there.
Josh, are we
Yes.
gonna get is James Franco ever gonna be mainstream again?
I don't know. I feel like once Seth Rogen denounced him, that was maybe the final nail in the coffin. But the thing about any of these quote canceled people is that like they all come back eventually. So probably he will.
I mean, he's making a ton of movies in that kind of VOD space. The one that caught my, I mean, we know he's playing Castro. The one that caught my eye, The Long Home. A young contractor is hired to build a honky tonk in Tennessee by the man who killed his father, which I think he's also directing. And
yeah. He directs a ton of stuff that nobody, like other than The Disaster Artist, none of the movies that he's directed got any attention, but he's got a huge body of work as a director.
yeah, so we'll have to see, man. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the root is that a lot, like most of these people who have this kind of scandal or whatever, they come back in one way or another. And with Franco, maybe it'll just be that he does those weird outsider projects that he directs himself, or that Castro thing that I think is a smaller, it's not like a major studio biopic. And there was already extra, in addition to his personal controversy, there was controversy about the idea of casting him as a white guy in that role and all this stuff. So maybe he can just feed off of that.
Yeah, I mean, as we always say, we're looking at the art here, and
Sure.
he has a long body of art with a lot of cool projects, as we've talked about when we did The Room.
Yes, yeah, that is true. I mean, I liked him on The Deuce, the David Simon Show, and of course, The Disaster Artist. And so, yeah, there's plenty that you can appreciate from him as a performer still, I think.
There you go, buddy.
So, anything else on the legacy of Spring Breakers you want to talk about?
Josh, I think we covered every bit of this movie legacy wise.
Yeah.
Dave's gonna go party like a MF tonight, bro.
Dave, are you on Spring Break
Yeah.
forever?
You know it. You know it.
All right. Well, that is Spring Breakers.
Did you ever go on spring break, Dave?
No, closest thing we ever did was the Polar Bear MCs went to Lake Havasu to do a wet T-shirt contest. So
Did
yeah,
you
that
win?
was our spring break.
Did you win?
I did. I
Good.
did. Of course I did. I rigged the game.
Yeah. Jason, did you? I feel like we should have talked about this earlier. Did you ever go on a spring break like this?
Yeah, we did the senior trip, and that was pretty much that. But I was not in a place to, like, I went out, I partied, but it wasn't really my thing, So
Yeah, that's fair. No, nor mine. I think every spring break in college, I went to my house with my family.
where the real parties at.
That was my spring break, going home.
So Dave, this wet T-shirt contest, do you guys rap or did you just judge?
We rapped, we judged, it was a release party for, every rapper during that era had a clothing line. We had a clothing line called Yummy Wear, and we made these like spaghetti strap tees and gave them out to all the girls. And it was as stupid as it sounds.
I mean, so it sounds like, Dave, you were the alien of Lake Havasu.
Yeah, that's what it does sound like.
100%.
All right. Well, that is Spring Breakers, and that is this episode of Awesome Movie Year. Show us your shit on social media and online.
Hey, guys, we're on social media and online. You can go to awesomemovieyear.com if you like. That's our website. You can go to Awesome Movie Year on Facebook and Instagram. Awesome Movie Pod on Twitter for as long as that lasts. Who knows? And I'm all over the socials at Jason Harris Comedy or J Harris Comedy. My website, Eat This Comedy, is up. My old website, Go for Jason, is in a wet T-shirt contest that Dave is judging right now. So don't go there, but you can go to Go for Jason on Letterboxd.
I am at joshbellhateseverything.com. Some old stuff is there still. At Josh Bell Hates Everything on Facebook, and at Signal Bleed on Twitter, and on Letterboxd, with newer stuff being posted there. And listen to our producer David Rosen's awesome podcast, Piecing It Together.
Check out Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts. We did actually cover the Beach Bum, so go listen to that episode. And follow us on social media at Piecing Pod.
Jason, what do we have in our next episode?
Josh, it's a cult classic. It's called Dredd, and that's what the next episode is.
Thank you for that beautiful description of that film. Learn more about it. Tune in next time for Dredd, and thanks for listening to Awesome Movie Year.
Thank you for listening to Awesome Movie Year. Make sure to follow Awesome Movie Year on Facebook, at Awesome Movie Pod on Twitter, and at Awesome Movie Year on Instagram. And if you like the show, review us and rate us with 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.